What is up, down, and sideways, you lovely individuals? We are back. This is League Unlock. I am Eric, that is Mark, and the LPL, man, it don't stop. There's no breaks in these playoffs, LCS, LCK even, we're save it for the weekend, the matches. LPL just go, nonstop. We got so many games, you guys don't get any breaks.
Absolute rapid fire is the style of the LPL playoffs. And even more than just rapid fire style and games one after the other every single day of the LPL playoffs, we're bringing the fire of the final four now in the LPL playoffs. Of 4 of the top 5 teams in the world. Yeah, it's going to get spicy.
FPX was rolling coming into this match, fresh off the win against JDG. We had RNG number 1 in our global power rankings. We hadn't seen them play. This was their first playoff. It was their playoff debut in spring. And let's just say they're happy they're going to get another opportunity in the losers bracket, because this was a swift 3-0 at the hands of FPX.
Not only is RNG, not only are the RNG fans, any League of Legends fan should be counting themselves lucky that this is the part of the LPL playoffs where we get that losers bracket, because absolutely, to say goodbye to all the things of RNG after this series, after this missed performance, I think a lot of people would categorize, at least for RNG, providing some firepower back at FPX. It would be extremely disappointing for this to be the very end for RNG. At least we get that losers bracket. We'll get to see them again.
Shades of IG, I think 2020 spring, when they were dominant in the regular season, and then 0-3 their first playoff round, losing the third place match to, I believe it was FPX back then. So hoping it's not more the same for RNG. And yes, they absolutely underperformed in this series. I think there's a lot you can criticize. Wei did not nearly have the impact that he had in the regular season. Tien has stepped up, as we've already talked about, since he came back to the starting lineup. For me, Gala was the most disappointing player in this series in particular. 1-8-8 in the first 2 games, and LWX jumped in a couple of times to his death, but across the 3-game set, hugely outperformed his AD carry counterpart.
Yeah, to me, you can, and we will talk about many other aspects of this series, of the performance of RNG and what FPX did properly to get the victory and to put RNG in that situation. But absolutely, looking at the bottom lane and looking at that, how that played out and how it affected the rest of the games outside of the laning phase as well, it was crucially bad for the side of RNG from Gala. And this is extremely surprising, because given, let alone this whole year, everything that we have seen from Gala since Uzi has left RNG and retired away has been more than okay, which is crazy to say that you haven't been missing someone like Uzi and his talent and what he brings to a team because of what Gala. Yeah, exactly. But because of what Gala had been doing, you said it. Missed them this series, wasn't the level of performance that you needed necessary, let alone necessary to match up against LWX, because that's something that we also need to be talking about with Gala's underperformance, is LWX continuing to bring the heat. And this is the heat that LWX has been bringing when FPX was winning world championships. This is exactly the type of form that you need to be scared about an FPX team playing at.
He wasn't just doing it on Kai'Sa, which people have called him a one-trick Kai'Sa for years now, but he's playing the Tristana, he's playing Xayah, we've seen at a high level, even something like the Senna pick. So he was fantastic. Obviously, the show was stolen by Nuguri in the top side, and this is where you see the different iteration of FPX, and it goes as far down to Do and B as well, because when they were winning worlds, yeah, he had these crazy picks mid. He's playing tank Gallios, tank Rise, he's playing Malphites mid. But now in 2021, with such a strong, impactful, dominant laner in Nuguri on the top side, Do and B's on shield duty. He's playing 2 games of Orianna in this series and the Karma, but we hyped up Xiaohu all season long. Nobody could stand up to his Gnar. Well, save for Nuguri's Jace. And the Irelia as well was pretty damn good in this series.
And it was refreshing to see this performance from someone like Nuguri, especially into Xiaohu's Gnar, and the way that Gnar had been treated in the draft phase of being able to just, being so bold to blindly pick him. We saw that this past weekend with TSM in North America specifically. A lot of people want to talk about Huni in that matchup and how he performed. And Yes, Huni did okay, sure, individually in that matchup. But I was still stumped every single time going, how is this Narb that's being blind picked not being punished enough, let alone it's a Jace on the other side. Shouldn't that be the thing that I've always seen punish away Nars? Yes. Thank you, Nuggery and FPX, for restoring my faith in what I know about League of Legends.
Yeah, it was definitely, and you know what, Jahu had some great team fights on the Gnar, save for the one where he, hops in for the 4-man ulti, but doesn't quite go mega in time. But Nuggery played that Jace perfectly. FPX played around that Jace perfectly. And also the Aurelia game that he had. It's just a treat to see Nuggery on carries. And you mentioned it before. They released these damn one World Championship skins. And Nuggery kind of says, I kind of want another skin. Maybe we should go to MSI, guys.
Yeah, he saw the skins and he's like, man, those look so cool. But what about a red chroma? How would a red chroma look on my world skin? Got to get a second one for that one.
And we've seen him play FPX Malphite in the top side. He's used the skins. So.
He's just brainstorming, getting ready for what he has to pick out for Riot for his championship skin. Keep playing like this. FPX continue to improve. They'll be for another championship skin.
It's just a little weird with RNG because we spent the entire season hyping up everybody but Cryan and kind of saying, yeah, Cryan's just there. He's doing his job. He's not at the top of the mid laners when it comes to the LPL. For me, this series, he was the only one performing at a high enough level to be a top 4 LPL team.
Right. And this is where, as much as we want to spend time praising and getting excited about FPX, which believe me, we will do. And yes, there is more time to do that considering they're moving on in the playoffs. When you look at RNG and you examine how they need to, what they need to do and how they need to rebound, you're right that the only thing that they can look at this series and really be saying what went right for us, what was a positive, what was a good performance stepping up on the day is Cryan in the mid lane. And even then, you're talking about stepping up and delivering a performance, as you said before, with doing B mostly on shield duty, right? You should have been able to find maybe some more advantages for yourself, even in that type of situation, is what you would want to see on the RNG side. And turning it around, well, there's not a lot of time to do that because the LPL is rapid fire, as we've talked about. You're not going to get you got
a couple days till you're back in losers playing.
And then back in losers, as we already said, this is the top 4 of the top 5 in the world that we just talked about in our power rankings. It's not like you're going to get an 100 Thieves to right the ship, Dignitas, whatever. You're going up against a top esports. You're going up against an EDG. Good luck.
Yeah, that's those aren't losers in that bracket. You can call it losers bracket, but none of them. Last guy I want to highlight on because, again, all regular season, it was Ming is incredible. He's back in peak form 2017, 2018. Crisp was the support, stealing the show, stealing the engages, stealing the laning phase. He was all over the map and still winning these 2v2 matchups. The Rakan and the Rel were absolutely on point for him.
Yeah, and I'm really happy that you brought up Crisp because sometimes when we get excited about bot lanes, we get excited about the ADC and what they do, and we make sure to get the credit, the praise over to them for the performances. And again, sometimes it is the support that gets left behind, gets forgotten about. And for a team like FPX, with as crazy as the numbers can be for someone like LWX sometimes, Crisp can be forgotten, but absolutely, you're right. He is a key factor in making sure those performances come through. And he was massive in his engages in this series against the side of Ming and RNG.
Yeah, and I mean, Crisp was already on the all-pro squad, deservedly so, but it was Ming we were talking about as that best support so far in spring. So happy for FPX. I hope RNG gets it back together on the losers bracket because I would feel terrible if all the positives that they got together in the spring split, all the accolades they hit, all of a sudden it's a 0-6 finish in playoffs. I don't want that. No one wants to see that.
No, nobody wants to see that, and especially given the climb back into relevancy, back into that elite position of an LPL organization for RNG after a year and a half outside of the spotlight. Feels good to see them back and want to see this trend, this momentum continue to move forward.
And we talked about World Championship points for a squad like IG getting ousted early. IG's not going to Worlds. I'm off that train. But the top 4 here, winning in losers, these are where the championship points really matter, because I think all 4 of these squads, based on what we've seen so far this year, are heavy Worlds contenders coming from the LPL. So even one more advancement in best of series could potentially make or break you going to Worlds.
And if this turns out to be, the reality that a squad like RNG isn't actually, the very top, but is, a 3, a 4, 2 type of team in the LPL, as you said, making sure that you're getting these points, let alone at this point of the playoffs, but making sure that you maybe can squeeze out an extra spot, 1 or 2 things type of thing in that lower bracket, make sure you keep going. Extremely vital in making sure that you're having those world championship points. All the more important, even if it is just 3 spots for the LPL, possibly 4.
One thing's for sure, though. You already saw Carlos sweating, tweeting about FPX potentially. They're going to MSI, so they don't want to
show him that those Tien performances. Tien is going to make sure he's sweating more.
G2 definitely sweating if FPX is going to be the squad representing the LPL. This weekend obviously has a lot of crazy matches. We got 3 separate finals in the LCK, LEC, and LCS. We're going to preview them all, but today we're just going to stick to the LCS and announce that we're going to get Pentakill performing, the first content from Pentakill, I think, since 2017, when they had that crazy Mortal Reminder video where they attack Bandle City and all the little Yordles getting crushed.
And they kicked Teemo. That's all I remember, and that's all that's worthwhile.
And that was, yes, of course, the MVP of the video. But that's going to be exciting, but even more exciting, of course, matches on the Rift, because we got Cloud9 sitting pretty, waiting in the finals. Before that, we have TSM versus Team Liquid, and the beauty of the losers bracket is we get the rematch from round 1 of the playoffs. These guys were the first weekend, and it was Team Liquid taking that series 3-1. So we're going back in time to remember that series. And can TSM get some revenge? Because if you remember the first game, it was looking great for TSM, and then they had a lovely Baron throw. There was some Azir bans in this series, 2 Seraphine games for Power of Evil, and Azir, we praise Power of Evil for being great on that pick. He's 8-3 this year. Jensen's 8-0 on that pick.
Yeah, that is absolutely one of the picks that should be, and I'm expecting to be, a contested one for both sides, wanting to grab that control, that safety, a familiarity and feeling of a mid laner for both of these two that love to play that Azir, that scaling up and everything else. Building it very differently, I think, is something to mention as well, let alone that's just kind of a Power of Evil thing, building differently.
Pretty much every champion, yeah.
Yeah, finding a different avenue, and I'm gonna wager 75%, at least from my boosted brain opinion, that it works out. Those builds sometimes, obviously, it's not. The numbers, no matter what, are not gonna work out for you. When you're looking at this matchup, when we're talking about Jensen Power of Evil, Jensen didn't match up enough to Perks last weekend. We saw that when we were hyping it up. He was going in, and probably as high as we've ever felt about Jensen in the past couple of years in that matchup against Perks. Knocked down big time. Needs a rebound against someone like Power of Evil.
He looked great against PoE in this round. This was the series that we said, okay, that's the Jensen we know and remember that's always in contention for best mid laner in NA.
And then this is why I'm saying, even on that flip side, when you look at the Power of Evil side, where he needs to be better than Jensen this time around, get that advantage. Well, how good is that when then we know what's next is Perks? And obviously, the answer to that really is, it doesn't matter. Worry about what is at hand, your match at hand, the day that you got to take care of. Then we can worry about the hypothetical situation of trying to take down Perks.
The other big concern, elephant in the room in this matchup, is Alphari versus Huni, and that was kind of what decided Game 4 in this last series, because the game that TSM did win was a Seraphine game for Power of Evil. He finished 0-0 in 15, and she got to the late game, so GG, basically, is how Seraphine worked. But she ran it back in Game 4, and Jensen played the Twisted Fate and said, whatever, let's just leave Seraphine. Let's go camp Huni in the top lane, and Alphari's Gnar got disgustingly far ahead.
And this is something that I think is going to be, I don't want to say TSM because it's a Huni thing. This is always going to be a thing with Huni playing, whether you're as positive as I am about someone like Huni and what he can offer, or if you're in the hater category or anywhere in between, really, for that matter, is knowing that how he plays You absolutely can punish that with a coordinated effort from the other side most of the time. And a squad like Team Liquid, we've seen want to do that, as you said, in a Game 4 situation before. That is where my real concern in that side, because it absolutely can be something that can be held off for TSM. But when you look back at that series, that was, again, a big spot where Alphari was getting power, was being an issue, was setting TSM behind. And even when TSM was finding their advantages, it was still a problem to deal with. So that is something I absolutely want to look at. And if Closer and Someday, with their level of performance this past weekend, were able to find ways to punish Puni, I'm worried about what could possibly happen with Alphari and Santorin. And that's even knowing that Santorin needs to step up his performance from last weekend.
And much like Jensen, he had a great series against TSM when they first matched up. So you got TSM, who the competition level ramps up real quick. EG, 100 Thieves, Team Liquid, it skyrockets up. And then you have Team Liquid, who are really looking to prove that they are legit after a somewhat disappointing run against Cloud9. Team Liquid should still be the favorites. I think they are in this one. Is TSM getting a redemption story? Or are they getting the upset and going to finals here?
No, I can't predict that. I'm not predicting that one. I'm not willing to put myself on the line for that one in the sense. I will say, if TSM is going to win, it's not the cop out of, they'll squeak by a 3-2 type of victory. It'll be a 3-1, 3-0 type of situation. If TSM is going to be the better team on the day, I expect it to be, a very clear type of situation, or very clear underperformance on the side of Team Liquid that gets TSM through. Outside of that, what I see exactly playing out should be control from Team Liquid.
Yeah, I can see TSM winning if there's lingering despair and mental issues from that Cloud9 series for Team Liquid. But you look at the players on this roster, they're all, save for Tactical, huge veterans in the scene. I don't see anything lingering. If anything, they just want to prove that, yeah, we're actually legit. So I think Team Liquid's going to win it. I think there'll be some competitive games, maybe not any stomps, but cleaner team fighting going to come through for Team Liquid. The real question is, does whoever wins have a chance against Cloud9?
Yeah, that really is the problem, because when you were talking about that and we're talking about expecting Team Liquid, I'm like, okay, on the TSM side, finishing third, getting, where they are, not a bad, spot to end up and build off of, for the summer and what you need to be doing. Looking at Team Liquid, sure, this is the trajectory. You need to be challenging in this type of position. You can't be any lower. But how do you get better, right? How do you be ahead of that Cloud9? Yeah. It's the same as when we looked at last time, right? It's finding a way to match up, at the very least to me, in that mid lane, because as long as that is such a discrepancy, it didn't matter how big the difference was in top lane, and you're not going to get much bigger differences than having Alphari against anybody in the LCS.
Yeah, that's obviously the key matchup. Pretty much anytime anyone's matching up against Team Liquid is, how hard is Alphari going to stomp the top lane? Is it enough to carry the entire series? Obviously, I think Team Liquid, despite their last showing, has a better chance at taking down Cloud9, because when you're matching up lane to lane, I just don't think TSM has the firepower. Cloud9 should be the favorites against either of them. I expect a closer series if it's Team Liquid than the first time around. Maybe not going to 5 again, but at least a closer 4-game set. But I agree. I feel like Cloud9 is going to be repping the NA boys at MSI. The real prediction is, though, will we see another Teemo kick from Pentakill at this performance? They got to throw an homage to it, right?
I want a double Teemo kick. It's about time that we get it. You know what? How it's going to happen? We're going to replace Sona in Pentakill. I know,
of course. Seraphine drops in.
Exactly. You're dropping 200 years down the line, and that's it. That's how we get Pentakill to the next level. I will say, every jokes aside, all these type of things, I actually am pretty excited from a fanboy perspective. Pentakill. I know it's not everyone's taste of music, and it's not exactly my taste in music too, but getting it every once in a while, and especially, how they connect in with the League of Legends community and universe, that's a pretty cool thing. And to get it for the LCS finals, hey, we're finally getting somewhere.
If it's not getting you pumped up to play the game, then you're doing it wrong. And it'll be a nice change from the KDA genre. I know everybody loves KDA. Everybody's losing their minds. But yeah, it'll be a nice change to see that. I hope they put on a show. Still not going to be fans, but that just gives more opportunity to make a fantastic live streaming experience. LCS finals this weekend. We'll get to the previews for the LEC and LCK, but one way or another, it is going to be an insane weekend of finals action. That's it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys. As always, thanks for hanging out. We'll catch you on the flippity flip.